This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Anything discussed during this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all content is for general entertainment purposes only. Listeners should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal matter. Listening to, contacting us, or any of the links or resources contained within this podcast and or website does not create an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed during this podcast are those of the individual lawyers in their individual personal capacities only.
All the legal ladies, all the legal ladies, all the legal ladies, all the legal ladies.
Welcome to All the Legal Ladies. Unwind with us as we navigate the fascinating world of legal tales, precedents, and the occasional objection-worthy joke. If we don't fall asleep first, because we are tired today. Alycia, I'm Kat, by the way.
I'm Alycia.
Marsha. And bonus episode.
Alycia and I got to spend our weekend with 8.
Felt like 12, but it was 8.
8 Girl Scouts that decided they only needed to sleep between 12 and 5.
I think they only slept between 12 and 5 because it wasn't quite guttural.
Mm-hmm.
But the stop talking right now that came from the adults only Glenn did put the fear in them that I would have called, well, one of their parents was already there.
Yeah.
But the rest of their parents made them come get them at midnight.
At like 9:30. And we're like, all right, that's it. We'll just go to our cabin and they'll fall asleep. And then it was just
was like 11.
Sure. And then it was just, the adults are asleep. We could do whatever we want. And then they were going to start making plans to go into each other's cabins and have what did your daughter say? A pajama dance party?
I'm like, children, you are 8 and 9 years old. Like, you can do that when you're 14. You may not do that now.
How about you? How are you doing?
I am also tired, but that is because I think either the medication or the reason why I'm taking the medication gives me trouble. I have trouble sleeping, falling asleep at night. So I was up until like 1 a.m. and then I woke up again like around 3 and then 5. So
yeah,
not good sleep.
Not good sleep at all. No. So children didn't cause it, but now I can tune children out because I have a teenager. So when he had his sleepover with how many other, 3, 4 other boys, and then someone came at around 11 p.m. and brought his girlfriend and didn't leave until 1. I was like, whatever, as long as you don't burn the house down, and we're all good. We're all good. So they didn't keep me up, but so I remember those days though, when Charles wouldn't go to sleep until like midnight. Put him in the bed at normal bedtime. He would stay up, sing, write notes.
I'm trying to think. There wasn't singing. I think my daughter started singing selections from The Lion King at like 6:30 in the morning. When they were all up, they were dressed, they got themselves ready, and they were re-engaging in their sort of like, feral Mud Kingdom zombie games.
Yeah.
Which they had a wonderful time, which was good. The parents, we did barely survive on like 4 cups of coffee.
Yeah. French press was in the camp stove very necessary for that morning of.
You're good. I've never been on a camping trip with Charles, and he's been a Boy Scout. Well, he started off as a Cub Scout. It's like, no, thank you.
This is the extent of my camping. There were Glen shelters with cots. So, shelter, which was good because it was raining, and then running water bathrooms and sinks.
Yeah.
And a pavilion with picnic tables, which is the extent of my camping.
Yeah. And I basically started a fire in a puddle because there was no place. One of our things was entirely underwater. So I used the other fire setup that had like only half of it underwater.
Oh my gosh.
It took her a good 2 hours.
It did. I eventually like enough coals fell down to like, I think, heat the dampness underneath, but it was a struggle.
So we did get to do s'mores. Thank you
in the
very
rain.
much. It was very awesome.
Nice.
And apparently you have a song stuck in your head.
I do. Before I was like, I don't know any Girl Scout songs. Now I think I know like 2 of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any song stuck in your head today?
No, amazing. Usually I wake up with a song in my head, but not this morning.
I don't know why, but I've got Florida stuck in my head because I love Florence and the Machine and also, Taylor Swift's new album. So it's, I think, the crashing of the drums to try and keep me awake. But speaking of Taylor Swift, there is, I don't even know how to connect that, but that's okay.
I'm always interested when you try to make these connections in this conversation. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, this seems natural to me. Other times I'm like, how is she going to make this happen?
So
speaking of musicians.
Well, okay. That's right. Speaking of Taylor Swift, because apparently somebody's been name dropping her in one of his raps, and I can't remember which one, so I definitely won't do that. But Drake and
Kendrick Lamar.
I was going to say Lamar, and I was like, that's not his first name.
No.
Are beefing.
Why is it so funny to me to hear you say beef?
Yeah.
Right. Or the beef might be over, but yeah, Charles was like, this is the greatest. They are putting out some good music. And I was like, okay, what are they beefing about?
I don't know that I've listened to any of them. I've just listened to other people on the internet tell me what is happening.
Yeah. So apparently, I guess it was because it also happened with Billie Eilish. I guess they're saying Taylor Swift because she dropped her stuff that she's in the number one. And so other people can't drop theirs because they won't crack number one or whatever. But I do think the interesting thing that's come out of this Drake and Kendrick Lamar is we're now talking about AI quite a lot.
Congress is talking about AI. Yeah, it's because Drake in his last song or one of his last songs used Tupac's voice in his rap against Kendrick. And he didn't get obtain permission from Tupac's estate, so the family of Tupac. And it was an original verse. So he used Tupac's voice to create an original verse that Tupac has never uttered.
It's weird.
Which, it's weird and also quite different from, because I believe Kendrick used Tupac's with permission, but it was something he actually sang, not a creation by a computer these days.
A while in one of Kendrick's rap songs, whatever, he used an interview that Tupac had and put it in the rap. So, and got permission. So that is,
Which is, it's just interesting because it's like all the discussion. I think we saw this around the last couple of election cycles, with deep fakes and, all of this created content. And so much of it, I think like the concerns that I saw were talking about the use of it to affect like current events. So like the use of it in political campaigns or war zones or, creating these things that are actively happening. And so I really had honestly never thought about the use of it with someone who's already passed away. Like this is just not something that I'd ever contemplated.
Right.
Talking about these concerns of, AI generation.
And so it forced Congress to act or propose an act. And it's called No Fakes. And so I guess that's the song that I was thinking about because instead of, I was saying no fakes, no scrubs. But the No Fakes Act actually stands for Nurture Originals Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe Act.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the writer's strike. They were worried about AI being used too much to create content, whereas the writers would do it. And a quick shout out to Dad Chats on TikTok, another lawyer that I tend to frequent for bringing this up so that we could talk about it, but from a legal perspective.
Right.
Well, the law is so often reactive. How long has this been going on? And they're now making a law about it. But it's just so over like the TikTok ban, that coming to the forefront. You think like that's why bills are usually named after people, because was it like the Brady gun reform or like the Adam Walsh registry laws? It's like, something big happens in the news and then they take action, even though people who work in these fields have been begging them to take action for years because of what sort of a legal minefield it was.
Yeah. Congress has been very busy lately. So, and AI can be useful. It can help you draft things. It can,
Can it help you draft anything like
but
good?
It can in some instances, but when you're talking about, say, in the legal field, you shouldn't use AI to draft your complaints or draft.
Well, I mean, it'll invent citations.
Right.
You see lawyers get in trouble for that. They just makes up cases. It's like, oh yeah, a legal brief should have a citation in it. Let me put something that looks like a citation here.
Yeah. And then you can question AI on it. And they're like, oh yeah, it's not real. And it's like, why can't lawyers really shouldn't use it, first of all, but also you should know better. You should know better.
Well, if you're not cite checking your own things before you send them out, that's a whole other problem.
It is.
But it also can help. I know we looked at AI for certain things about when we were starting this podcast about what should it be called, things of that nature.
Which should our
slogan
be?
And the options are not great.
No, but it helped us get our creative juices flowing. So we could be like, we don't like this. Let's go this way. You know,
I was like, well, I guess we better come up with it on our own because AI is not going to do anything good for us. I mean, I have heard of lawyers using it in contexts I think that are maybe useful and appropriate. Like I was talking to another lawyer who was using it to, summarize a transcript for them so that they could have give me, 10 bullet points or something about this transcript as, as an idea of what are the points I want to make in using this or using it to draft a letter. Like I want to send a letter that, has this tone and sends this message. And, I was reading, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I don't know. I don't know that I would do it, but it seemed, well, and I'm guessing, I'm sure they did, but I don't know that I would go that route, but to me, that is definitely much more acceptable than using it to draft a brief and not checking the citations.
Right. Yes. So it can help, AI can help creativity, help you think creatively, but it can also be dangerous because if you're not checking the citations, then yes, you have an ethical responsibility, a professional responsibility to make sure that what you submit to the court is correct. But it also can be, getting back to entertainment, it can also be very scary, just personal wise, like with the deep fake, but using a person's image or a person's voice to create something that the person didn't say. Yeah, that is potentially what I guess the No Fakes Act is trying to prevent.
Now, Maryland doesn't have anything specifically in law yet about using AI to redo someone's voice or image, but we do have some laws. Back in 2020, they passed a law that would prohibit employers from using facial recognition in a job interview, I guess, to maybe see about social media, or were you at a protest, or were you out here? And so you couldn't do it without a person's permission. But on Monday, the Governor Moore, just signed SB 182 that limits facial recognition tech to just investigations of a certain nature. Like, it already has to be an assumption of a crime. So you can't even look at protests and start using facial identification to figure out people. You have to you have to know or suspect, have probable cause that they have committed a crime during that protest in order to use their facial recognition, which, is a big thing from the January 6th insurrection.
Yeah. I wonder how much were they using AI? Because I know they had real people reviewing all of those. I had a friend who, works for the government and, got overtime for, looking at footage and trying to identify people. Yeah.
Yeah. I really do feel like that was more of individual people trying to get that done as opposed to AI. But,
Well, I mean, how much is that? I mean, that's 4 years ago or not?
Oh, 3 years.
3 years ago.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah, because it's beginning of 21. But
oh my goodness.
I don't know. It's just all the stuff with the use of AI. You see, it generates the pictures, people don't have the right number of fingers. And I think there was a meme I saw that was saying, the idea was that the robots were supposed to do all of the menial, boring tasks to free us to create art. And instead of we're trying to use AI to create art, and then we get stuck doing the menial, boring tasks.
There is digital art that I love and that I own, but it's an artist who uses digital colors to make, especially one that I had from Arizona Renaissance Festival, was very abstract or space oriented. And so using more of a digital printout feel made sense for that art, but he's the one behind it. He's the one doing the brushstrokes on the computer and to, I don't want a Mona Lisa printed out by an AI.
17 fingers. Extra hand.
Right. But yeah, it's scary how far it can go.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be legal protection in place. Because, and should it be federal protection? That's the question. And I think yes, because states vary. So in one state, something can be covered, in another state, it could not be protected. So.
Well, and you're talking about stuff that exists basically in the digital realm. Like there's no way to keep it inside state lines.
Yeah, because at that point, you're talking about someone who's going to cross a road or be in India and doing some technology manipulation, and then you can't sue them. But if it's federal, then you have more.
At least across the country.
Our country. Yeah.
Like Dad Chats was saying, if Tupac's estate wanted to bring suit against Drake, where would they bring suit? Because he lived in New York, but he also lived in California during the later years of his life. So,
I mean, just the idea that you have to argue where someone who died in 1996 was domiciled, like that feels.
It does feel a lot. And again, part of it is the personal thing. Like you should be asking the estate to do it. Like there have been some amazing collaborations after death, like Nat King Cole and his daughter, where I think is one of the most beautiful renditions of that song that I've heard. And then apparently there was a Timberlake and a Michael Jackson song. And so lots of people do it. It's, but there should be permission, and it should be given with certain courtesy, because again, this is somebody's legacy, right?
And the fact that they already recorded that song.
Yes.
Either it wasn't released, or in Nat King Cole and Natalie Cole's case, it had been released, but she redid it as a duet with her father. But to make up something, I think that's where you need to draw the line.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just, I think of how often we give permission for like the use of photos or things like that. You know, you go to a Girl Scout event or you go to King's Dominion, you sign whether or not your photo can be used. You know, the schools, we sign whether or not our kids' pictures can be used. And so, yeah, just the idea that someone without your knowledge, without your permission can create content about you.
Yeah, because the permission really just extends to that event or that usage.
Right.
It's not in perpetuity forever. You can use my kid's likeness forever in whichever way you
like erase the background and put.
Yeah, that goes to some of those. I've seen a lot on TikTok, wedding photographers that talk about like creating wedding pictures, and I'm a little uncomfortable with it. You know, like it's something if somebody was there and you just missed. But there are people who are doing it for people who have died, and then you're creating this fiction, and it's just, is that a healthy thing to do? I don't know.
It's definitely a slippery slope. Yeah, because I know that people create pictures. Say, for instance, you're getting married, like you said, and your father or a parent has died, but you want them in that picture. It's like, now, and when you go to court, then this is going down the line. Now there's just more ways to say, oh, that's not the picture that was taken. So it's interesting, like when you are in court, especially for photo documentation, you have to, basically testify that this is a true and accurate representation of what it looked like at the time. So somebody could bring in a picture of a wedding and say,
yeah. Well, I had an attorney in a case want to see the Apple information on the picture, right? But the person was like, but that can be changed. Like if you click on it, you can change it, which I guess is like to update the location, for reasons, but also is weird that you can do it, where screenshots still seem to be at least the better option because there's a timestamp on that screenshot. But even metadata can be changed nowadays. So,
and I saw someone saying the other day that like when you take a photo with your phone, like some phones, especially portrait mode or something like that, like it's automatically applying a little bit of editing to the photo, and no one's doing that. No one's asking for that. Yeah. Like the function itself is automatically doing it.
Mm-hmm. Like softening lines and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot that we're going to have to continue to talk about. It affects everybody, you know, whether they realize it or not, and into the bold future with technology, right? But for now, let's leave technology behind and go out to the playground and play some recess. We're going to spin the wheel and see what game we'll be playing today. I'm better at this transition than
That's it. Laws of the land.
Ooh. We're going to guess which state it belongs to.
In which state is it illegal to go fishing with a firearm?
Florida.
Virginia. I don't know.
New Jersey.
None of the above.
Indiana.
Your home state.
I mean, to be fair, I've never gone fishing with a firearm. We always used a fishing pole. So, you know, I wasn't aware of that as an option.
Yeah. I can't imagine it'll leave much fish left to eat.
I just feel like that's straight out of like a 90s comedy. Someone just shooting into the water trying to get fish. All right. In which state is it illegal to go hunting on Sundays unless it's for raccoons? It's like, I know Maryland has some hunting on Sunday rules that I can never quite follow, because I'm trying to figure out like when I can go into the state forest land that's behind our house and, you know, not have to wear bright orange.
Oklahoma.
Where would they want you to hunt raccoons on Sundays? Is this where you make a bad joke about the South? I'll go with Arkansas.
Oh, Iowa. I don't know.
Virginia.
Wow. All right. I should have just stuck with Virginia.
Yeah, see, people think the law is boring, but I'm like, I would love to see the legislative history on that. Like, there's got to be a story. There's always a
conversation as they try to pass that bill.
Right. Was Virginia, or did they have a lot of raccoons? Yeah. On Sunday.
I don't really know. And like, what's the history of our trash pandas before there were like lots of trash cans for them to get into? Like, what was their natural state? No idea. All right. In which state is it illegal to take a selfie with a tiger? I'm going to go with Nevada.
I'm going back with Florida because the tiger king.
I was thinking of like Vegas.
California.
New York.
New York.
We are 0 for 3 here today.
New York. Why? How did that come up? Like
circuses back in like 1800s or something. Like, although there would be no selfies back then.
Yeah.
Like when did the selfie
so it had
become
to be
a thing?
recent, like so to speak.
Like, was it actually selfie? This is where we have to ask our person was it actually selfie in the wording, or was it like picture, like self-portrait?
It said selfie.
Okay.
Website.
We're looking it up now because now we're super curious. Trash pandas can happen another day.
It's like donkey in a bathtub all over again. Like, I don't have as many questions as I did about the donkey in the bathtub scenario, but I still have questions.
Yes, New York State has banned direct contact between people and big cats, including tigers, since February of 2015. Which includes a ban on taking photos with them. The law known as the Tiger Selfie Law also prohibits charging people for photos with big cats at roadside zoos.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just a danger thing. I mean, at least it was a little on track with the Tiger King. Like, it was weird.
Yeah. When I went to school in Ohio, there was some sort of, was it Siberian Tiger Foundation or White Tiger Rescue or some sort of tiger rescue that was supposed to be not that far away from there, but we never made it over. I just had the suspicion, I'm like, a tiger like farm in the middle of Ohio, that's not going to be fun. That's going to make me sad.
Yep.
Tiger selfies, cruel, not cool.
Well, Well, now we've come to our last segment, childhood trauma. So we're going to go ahead and read a childhood trauma and from attorneys on Reddit. On Reddit. There's no S. Sorry.
When I email a particular attorney, his secretary prints my email, hands it to him to handwrite his response, and then she scans the whole thing back to me.
Old school attorney.
Yeah. I was like, I know there was one case that came through our office where, because like they always joke about, was it millennials, some things you do on the big internet and some things you do on the small internet. Like if you buy a flight, you're going to do it on your laptop versus like Amazon shopping you can do on your phone. And so it's like, I feel like it's a little bit like that way with lawyer communication, right? Yeah. There's a lot of things you just email back and forth, but like, I don't know. To me, if like it's going to be more than the page long, like maybe that should be a letter. Depends on the topic. But so there was a case in our office where I was like, no matter what email like one of our attorneys sent, the other lawyer would send back a letter, even if it was just like, I've received your communication. Very sincerely yours.
Yeah, if it's not more than a paragraph, it's not going in letter form.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like missed the days of like dictating. I don't think I was working in the right offices for that then, if that time still existed.
There are a couple down here that still dictated. I've been in their office before where it was all paper. Most of them have retired now, but yeah, they still dictated even in the day of computers.
Isn't that what we're all doing with our text messages now, though? It's like, basically. I'm not going to type all of that. So I just like talk to text and go through and correct it.
The 120 limit has no longer applied. We just
like, I'm going to talk this novel out loud, edit it.
Right.
That's personal, though. That's not work related.
Well, this was exciting and fun and bonusy. So we'll see you when season 2 starts. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Tuning in, not turning in. Of All the Legal Ladies. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and listen to the audio on your favorite digital streaming platform. Till now, keep it real.
Don't take selfies with tigers.
Do not.
Bye.
Bye.